All right, my lovers, I have this new bike computer. It is the Coospo. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's the Coospo. It's a bike GPS computer, essentially. So let me talk about if it's worth getting. It was $40 off Amazon. If it's worth it, should you get one? Why you'd want it. Okay, so I have a computer already. It's a Melkin computer that has actually map functions on it, so it can navigate you places. This one, as far as I believe, does not navigate you anywhere but the GPS, in that it knows where you're at, so it can send information to Strava, it can send information to the app that you have on the phone, and it'll just kind of tell you your routes, tell you your maps, tell you your average speed and the gradients and everything like that. So for someone like me, very useful. I definitely like bike computers. One of my favorite features of bike computers is just the general information that it gives you, like the time, the temperature, the gradient, distance you've traveled, the time you've been out. So those things I find very, very helpful, just to know that kind of information right off the bat. And one thing I do like about the Coospo is that it gives you all the details that you would want right up front. So it tells you the temperature outside, so that's always going to be important for gearing up, letting you know. It tells you what time it is. And none of these things I set up, it just knows. Okay, it's going to tell you the top speed, what speed you're going once you start moving on your bike, the time, how long you've been riding for, the distance you've traveled, and the gradient you're currently riding. Those are literally all the things that I would want on my screen, and those are all the things that I try to put on my my other bike computer screens. It has so many different configurations, the other bike computer, that sometimes I go to other screens and it's not that information anymore. But the information that was on the Coospo model is basically everything I'd want to see there. I can't really think of anything I'd want to know on my bike ride other than this. If you obviously are trying to measure your power or something like that, this is not the bike computer for you, or the configuration. But if you just want a simple, like, tell me how fast I'm going, tell me how long I've been out, what's the temperature, what's the time, what's the gradient, really, really good computer. It's not going to tell you where to go, as far as I know. I don't think there's any GPS function. I think the GPS function is that it just knows where you are, and it transmits that information to your Strava or the app to tell you how fast you're going, and it's using that. And there are some settings where you would, once you start this one, where you tell it what wheel size you're riding and all of that. So why did I get this one if I already have a bike computer? I actually wanted a bike computer for the different bikes, so it could track the miles per bike. I didn't want to have to put in a different bike every time I rode. So one goes on the Fazari and one goes on the Poseidon. This one was like $40. I figured, really cheap in terms of the information that it gives me. And it's kind of like having a cell phone light, right? If in an emergency I want to take my cell phone on a bike ride, but I don't like using my cell phone, maybe as someone who's creating content, it'd be probably pertinent to find a way to film with my phone. It's probably not a bad idea, but I just don't. I tend to just use the DJI Action. So in terms of the things that I would use my cell phone for in a traditional setting, and I used to have a cell phone holder on my bike, but I just felt like it was too clunky, and if you're riding gravel, you're gonna really need a burly one of those, otherwise it's gonna pop off when you're riding on some chunder. So a bike computer tends to be really simple to put on. You use like rubber bandy type things to install it onto your stem, and it just kind of clicks in very easily. So as far as installation, I would almost say it wasn't really an installation, right? You just kind of rubber bands onto your stem or your handlebar. So really easy, quick thing to put on your bike. One thing I will warn you is that, I definitely have become addicted to the information on my bike computer now. Like, I'm on it. It's not a bad thing, right? It's like I have a family, I have obligations. It's like I can't stay out on my bike forever. So I'm always trying to be like, okay, I have until X amount of time to get back home. And so I'm always using the computer to be like, well, what time is it? How far are we from home? Is it reasonable to start heading back now? So, for responsible riders that kind of have a time crunch, I would say this is an excellent tool. just for general data too. It tracks your miles, it tracks your Strava. So if you're trying to do stuff on those apps, then it's just a great way to log. It'll automatically, once you connect to your Strava profile, it'll automatically tell Strava what you've done. So, and then there's the app that you use on your phone that'll log your miles. The only different thing about this one than the other bike computer that I have, you have to actually manually start recording, which in a way I like. There probably is a setting where you might not have to do that on this phone, but I actually kind of like that if you want to obscure. I mean, Strava will obscure your start point, but ultimately, it's up to you to tell it when to record, and I kind of like that. So yeah, I think it's worth it. I think a bike computer in general is, once you start having a practical need for it, is a good thing to get. Good a price. So far it's worked really well. The clarity, I can see it really well. The battery life seems to be pretty amazing. And so yeah, I would recommend it. USB-C to recharge. Yeah, good product.